So finding the greatest common factor of a number is going to be important with reducing fractions when we go to sort of operate with them further. So the greatest common factor is the largest number that divides into all of the terms. So when you're trying to find a common factor, you're trying to think of numbers that this number is divisible by. So some of us are just better at coming up with these in our head than others. Some of us are just going to have to go through the process of checking and working through it. So when you think of factors, so like greatest common factor of 8 and 12, we'll do 8 first. There's always the number itself and 1. So like factors of 8 would be 1 and 8. But what else multiplies to get you 8, or what else is 8 divisible by? So if you're unsure, you can just go to your calculator and check. Just start at the bottom. So like, yes, it's divisible by 1. It's even, so it should also be divisible by 2, but check. 8 divided by 2. If you get a whole number over here on the side, that means it's divisible. So that 4 and the 2 are also factors of 8. Now, I personally know that those are the only numbers that divide into 8, but say you kept going. So, like, say you did 8 divided by 3. You wanted to check 3. Because you got a decimal, that means it's not a nice factor. It's not divisible. 3 is not a factor of 8. So we already know 4. We already did that, but like 8 divided by 5, no good. Divided by 6, no good. Divided by 7, no good. And then when you get to the number itself, 8 and 1, you're not going to go any higher than the number. So you're not going to try to divide 8 by 9 or divide 8 by 10. Once you've checked everything in front of that, you're fine. So those are the factors of 8. 1, 8, 2, and 4. So how about the factors of 12? We know that it's 1 and 12, but what else is 12 divisible by? So how about 2? 12 divided by 2. That works. 2 and 6. So we've got those factors. Okay, how about 3? Whole number again, so those are good, 3 and 4. And no, it's not divisible by 5 because it doesn't end in a 5 or 0. We already used 6, so you could try like 7 or 8. Like I said, if you're unsure, because I know some of us are just better at figuring this out in our head, but all of those numbers after it are not going to be divisible. 9, 10, 11, none of them work. So those are the only factors of 12. The only numbers that divide into 12, that 12 is divisible by. So the greatest or largest number that they both are divisible by looks to be 4. So the greatest common factor that 8 and 12 divide by is 4. So if you can do this in your head, great, wonderful. But if not, it might not be a bad idea to just list the factors when you're asked to find the common factor of two numbers. So for A, 12 and 18, I mean, we already did 12, so you might as well just write it down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Why work harder? So factors then of 18, we know 1 and 18. Okay, so how about 2? 18 divided by 2. 9. So those are your factors, 2 and 9. You can check 3. It is divisible by 3, so that would be 3 and 6. Not divisible by 7, 8, 10, 12. So those are your only factors of 18. So looking at your options, the largest one they have in common is 6. So the greatest common factor, if you were trying to reduce both of these values, would be 6. So how about 2 and 8? Factors of 2. It's prime, so just 2 and 1. It's self and 1. 8, however, you've got 1 and 8. And we did it up here. 2 and 4. So the greatest factor that they have in common is just 2. So it's okay if the common factor is actually one of the numbers itself. That's actually quite common, and it is fine. So how about 7 and 11? This is a unique situation because they're both prime. So both 7 and 11, the only factors they have are the number itself and 1. So the factors of 7 are 1 and 7. The factors of 11 are 1 and 11. So the greatest common factor here is really just 1. So if you were trying to reduce these two numbers, you really couldn't. Because nothing other than 1 is common with them to divide, and it wouldn't change their value. So that is just the case sometimes, but you have to know that in order to know if you need to do anything or if you're okay as far as reducing goes, if you needed to.